So welcome to everybody, and I'm sure we'll have more people popping on as we're here. So my name's Jen Freeman. I'll be facilitating today, and a little bit about me. So I do OD consulting and coaching with a primary focus on self as instrument, and my area of interest is about deepening somatic practices, helping people shift from a Newtonian object-based view of themselves as a problem to be solved into a quantum view of seeing themselves as a process, a never-ending process where it has a lot more dynamic flow, energy, excitement, and possibilities than the Newtonian reductionistic view. So, and yeah, and I love what I do. I love getting to be with all of you. It's a real pleasure getting to work with the webinars. And so then also on behalf of the webinar team, thank you for being here. Thank you to the presenters. And thank you for everyone who is here at, again, various times. So I see Lakshmi in India, hello. So good morning, good evening, the whole hello. So just a few housekeeping things and then a few moments to say hi, because we are in general a chatty, friendly bunch. So I'm gonna keep us, once we're done saying hello, I'm gonna keep everyone on mute. The presenters all do have share screen enabled. Whatever you want to present is great. And so Jen's gonna kick us off with a meditation. And then when we're complete with her, I'm going to go in alphabetical order for the presenters. They will have a allotted time slot with a few minutes for a Q&A or comments at the end. Feel free to throw things in the chat, but if you want to say something directly to them or get a response, you can just hold that till the end. And I'll say when it's time for questions when they're done, and then you can basically, we'll see how it goes, but everyone can just basically unmute themselves. But if it turns into chaos, we'll go into the raising hand function. So, and see, other than that, I think that's all you need to know for me in terms of, yeah, the tech stuff. So yeah, we slotted in on purpose some extra time so people can say hello. So if anyone would like to, yeah, just say hi or a few sentences about why they're here today or anything, I'd love to hear. And yeah, welcome to everyone. So.
Good morning. Well, good morning for me. I don't know what time of day it is for everyone else, of course.
Hey, good day.
Good, hi. I'm Jacqueline Gargiulo, and I've gotten to know IODA through some work with Michelle and a group that we're working with. I've been a member of the OD network in the US for a while. I'm actually part of a lot of different OD groups. And I'm just looking forward to this discussion on coherence because it's just to keep me in the space, because right now I'm doing a lot of IT change management. So I'm trying to keep my OD mind going.
Great. I'm glad you could be with us. Yeah. And is that also a background on Zoom as well, or is that an actual physical object?
No, that's an actual physical.
Okay.
I learned it from another facilitator.
Okay.
Yeah, those room divider things.
Yeah. I'm all like, hey, it's looking good. I know. Yeah. Okay, great. All right. Thank you. And yes, so please, yeah, we've got a couple minutes for this. Whoever else would like to say hello.
Yeah, I also just say hello to everyone, and it's so wonderful to feel you all across the world being here. And Jen and I and Lakshmi, we sort of had this principle of an invitation out there and to see who comes. And it's always lovely because I think automatically the fact that we're all interested in coherence, I think we're going to be either experiencing something similar or have a similar way that we want to do our work and be in our work. So I'm just excited. I'm curious, excited, and looking forward to it. So thank you all for making the time to be here.
Yes, definitely. Thanks, Michelle. Yeah, and it's great. Michelle and I, how this process, we'll get together and we'll think about like what could the next webinar be about. And we joke we do the webinar first together. Because we basically talk about coherence like an hour. So I'm so appreciative of getting to collaborate with Michelle in that way, and then getting to see what shows up, see who shows up, and what ideas get expressed. So, yeah.
Yes, this is Roland Sullivan. I was one of the original members of IODA with Mark Silverman years and years ago. I founded the Asia OD Network, and we collaborate with you now and then. You know, especially we were the one coming up, or was coming up in Thailand. We were collaborating on that, and this is all. So there's a lot of change happening. So it's just wonderful to see all these people from around the world here. It's wonderful. Thank you.
Yeah.
I'll go.
Yes. Yes. You
Okay.
are.
So wonderful. Thank you. Thank you for those who are on and introducing yourself. I'm fairly newer to the group, but my exposure to IODA was in 2015 for the Third World OD Summit, which was in Portland, Oregon. I was really fortunate to have an opportunity to attend, and it was an IODA and ODN collaboration. I had a wonderful time learning a lot about what IODA does, and to get to know a lot of great OD practitioners across the world. And I was looking forward to the summit this year, but things have been disrupted. So the chance to get on and still collaborate with you all, learn from each other and share resources, I was looking forward to. And I'm glad to meet you all and see you virtually. I'm Janae Young.
Great. And we'll hear more from Janae later on as well. So she's one of our presenters. And yeah,
Thanks, Jen.
I really on purpose scheduled an extra time because we are a chatty bunch. So, so yeah, feel free for anyone else who wants to say hello.
And I also see one of my friends did join too. Sam Sema from South Africa is on as well. I see his profile on. Hi, Sam. Thanks for joining.
Excellent. Yeah, and Lakshmi, I've been curious, how are things in Mumbai?
I'm good, thank you, and really good to see you all. I see Bhumika also has joined after a long time, and hi, Sasha. So good to see you all.
Good, great. So it's so wonderful. I think right now, if everyone could
Can I
start.
just?
Oh yeah, please.
Thank you, Jenny, for introducing me. This is Sam Zima from Johannesburg in South Africa. I just have been invited by Jenny to be part of this forum. I said to her that this is something I can't miss, even if it's the last minute invitation. I'm fully present. I'm an executive coach in my day-to-day work, and OD obviously is very much in part of what we use in our interaction. So yeah, I'm looking forward to learn more about the IODA, and I look forward to the webinar content.
Great, I'm glad you could come. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, everybody. I'm Nomvula. Hi, Michelle. Cape Town, South Africa. Working as an OD practitioner with Tamarin 3 Associates. We're a very small, contained consultancy agency. And I've been connected to IODA for some time now. And I would like to become a more present member of IODA. Similar to others, I was also looking forward to later this year, but we now have to press pause and hope that things will start to happen at some stage. I am here because in my work with organizations over the last 6 months, because things are in flux, there's a lot of challenges and struggles about how do you help people to hold themselves together and then to hold their organizations together. And I find that the concept also applies to my own extended family. When we are as scattered as we are and we are not able to fulfill the usual rituals that we have as a family of coming together and connecting every 3 months, how do we ensure coherence? How do we ensure that coherence and ensuring that we remain connected in meaningful ways? And for all the IODA conferences I have attended, I was never disappointed in terms of learning new things. So I'm also here this afternoon for learning from others once again.
Thank you so much. And you're reminding me to put out a little teaser announcement that behind the scenes, we're playing with a way that we can create an online virtual fun IODian experience. So during the same dates, we all would have been together in Thailand. So you'll be hearing more about that in your email, but yeah, you're just reminding me we're definitely like, no, we need more time together. So we'll create a way. So yeah, we have time. We have a few more moments. So if anyone would like to jump on, love to hear from a few more people, and then we'll go to Jen.
Oh.
So, yes. Whoever, Bill, is that you, Bill?
Yes. Thank you. It is a delight to be here. I'm thinking about, again, the topic, and I just did a little mini workshop in my region, rural America, on coherence, where we got groups of 3 to 4 people together who knew each other. Barbara Marx Hubbard's focus was asking 2 questions. What is our real core purpose? And what is our innate genius? And having that conversation with people who love you and know you is really amazing. And to me, I think about how do we scale that in these times? Again, I'm in the organization design community and change management and organization development community. And to me, our work is to integrate all of those so we're not siloed like our customers, but taking that basic core of coherence and using it as a mechanism for connection, I think is just really sweet.
Great. Thank you, Bill. So we've got time for one more. So anyone, last person wants to chime in? Peter? Yes. Hi, Peter.
Hi, everybody. See some familiar faces, which is lovely. I'm in Byron Bay in Australia, and I came across IODA in 2011 when I was invited to facilitate the case study day, which was a great honor and a lovely introduction to IODA, and I've been to various conferences after. I won't talk too much, I'll be speaking later. So it's great to be here, and thanks for organizing this, Jen.
Well, and thank you for being awake. You are brave. You're amazing to be presenting in the middle of the night. I very much appreciate that. So representing for Australia. So, and wonderful. Thank you so much for everyone. And again, the chat will be up, so feel free to comment if something sparks your interest. And then for now, we're going to go to Jen. So Jen, please take it away.
Unmute. We're all remembering. Am I muted? I'm so glad to be here with all of you in this global circle, reaching from Australia all across the world to South Africa, which is well represented right now, to Chile, to my own town of Madison, Wisconsin in the States. And my good friend Jeffrey Lewis is in the circle. So it feels both very close and very expansive to be in this global community with all of you. And thank you to Jen and the whole webinar team for making this possible. So what is coherence? I imagine we all have slightly different takes on that, but I looked it up. I'm a word geek, so I looked up what does coherence mean according to Merriam-Webster. And I love this definition of coherence being the integration of diverse elements, relationships, or values. I'm gonna put that into the chat box if you want to read that for yourself. So I was thinking about this idea of integrating diverse elements, and I'd like to propose the idea that coherence, according to this definition, can begin with self, actually, and that the way we relate to our own diverse elements, values, and relationships of the many aspects of our own self and being can be a starting place to enhance coherence within ourselves so that we can bring coherence outward to any situation or group or meeting that we're in. And taking time to arrive in the present moment and becoming more fully aware of ourselves and others in the here and now can really support that idea of bringing coherence first with self in order to bring it without. So I invite you to join me in this short meditation to help ourselves become more fully present and to find within ourselves a quality that will help us with our own coherence within so we can support coherence without. So to begin, I invite you to find a position that is both upright yet free of tension, sitting with a tall spine. And if a seated posture isn't physically possible for you, imagine strong energy in your spine, crown of your head reaching to touch the sky in your mind's eye if sitting isn't comfortable. And in this way, in this strong posture, we bring dignity to our way of being and our bodies as a way of showing up and showing respect for ourselves. I invite you to close your eyes if you feel comfortable doing so, or you can gaze with a soft focus if you prefer. So in this posture of dignity, eyes resting, begin by bringing attention to your breath. Feeling it enter the body on the inhale, exiting the body on the exhale. No need to change your breath or do anything to it, just noticing and observing, breathing in and out. Feeling the sensations of breathing in this present moment. And as you mindfully inhale and exhale, I invite you to bring your awareness to the sensation of breath filling and reaching every part of the body. Bringing life-giving oxygen to every part, every cell. Filling our bodies with life. And as you continue enjoying those sensations of breathing life into the whole body, I invite you now to listen to the quiet, wise voice within and ask, what quality do I need to embody to be fully present to this gathering and this work? To feel coherent within myself? What quality, if embodied, would help me bring full presence to this work in this community? To feel coherent. And noticing where that quality resides in your body. You may even want to place your hand over where you find it. Just noticing, where does this quality live in the body? Bringing your breath to that area. Letting that quality also fill your being. So I invite you to take 3 more breaths at your own pace. Breathing into the quality, letting it inhabit your heart, mind, and body. Enlivening it with the breath. And at your own pace and time, I invite you to open your eyes and rejoin the circle when you feel ready. Thank you for experiencing that together. And so if your group size allows, this is a wonderful opportunity to invite people to share their quality out loud. And it can serve as a check-in, and I'll talk a little later about other uses of this practice. But I think because of our group size, we do have time to say, just without an explanation perhaps, just an awareness of time, but just to be able to speak to the group, the quality that you discovered in that journey together. And of course you can pass if you wish to, but if you want to take yourselves off mute, I can call on people as I see them on my screen. And if you want to pass, just say pass, but if you'd like to speak your quality, I invite you to do so. So Janae, I see you.
Did you say my name?
I did.
Oh, okay. The quality or the place that I put over my my hand over was my heart. So,
Heart.
to be
Thank
heartfelt.
you. Thank you. Jen?
Oh gosh, that was so lovely, Jen. I really, such a great one. So I also, my hand went to my heart as well. And what I heard was simplicity and ease. So that's
Thank you. Zelda?
Yeah, also my heart. And with a quality of curiosity and compassion.
Beautiful, thank you. Lakshmi?
Yeah, hi. So it's beautiful, especially after a tiring day. So feeling so much ease at heart and very peaceful. Thank you.
Thank you. Peter, your quality, please.
Mine's generosity today.
Thank you. Michelle.
Open attention.
Thank
I
you.
was feeling it all here, like.
Yeah, like a flower. Bill.
Yes, so mine was both in my heart and in my gut, and I had the feeling of grounding.
Thank you. Jacqueline.
My heart and solar plexus and loving observance.
Thank you. Ken, good to see you.
Hi, my heart is coherence. So long time journey from the beginning of OD and to right now. So
Thank you. Rajesh.
Again, got connected to heart and beautiful, peaceful, and openness. They kind of open to receive, give both. That's where I'm. Thank you for that.
Thank you. And my apologies if I speak anyone's name incorrectly. Nambula?
I had it over my gut actually, and it's the quality of stillness.
Thank you. Sasha?
Mine was like in my head region, and it was like attention and openness. It was like to like give and receive, as some others have said.
Thank you. Jeffrey?
Also my head, mind, and the quality of healing.
Thank you. Jacques?
So mine was on solar plexus and just tranquility.
Paul?
Honesty.
And Sam? Oh, you're on mute, Sam. Thank you.
I said that I'm awake. All my senses got connected. It's like I got awakened. So I was consciously aware of all the stages. So that's why I put the word awake. Thank you.
Thank you. And on screen it says STA, but is that who's behind STA in that beautiful picture?
I believe that's Roland.
Roland, thank you for the
Yeah.
help. Maybe we'll come back. It's possible Roland had to step away. Sonia? Now I'm not seeing pictures of people. I'm seeing people's names, but they might be muted. So if
Sonia wrote
She entered
calmness.
calmness in the chat.
Oh, beautiful. Thank you for seeing that. I wasn't looking at the chat. Thank you, Sonia. Ronell? Maybe they're not able to speak out loud. And if you're not able to, please do use the chat. I'll come back if needed. And then I see Bhumika.
I feel the feeling of abundance. Actually, the area was the back of the head. Far-sightedness is, I think, what I can bring. So abundance and collaboration. That's what I think, I guess. I hope so, rather.
Thank you so much. Charlene. We will come back. Mehul.
Charlene shared in the chat, heart and peacefulness.
Thank you, Jen. Hope, I see next.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
I put humility.
Thank you. Veronica.
Hi.
There you are. Yes.
Yes. Openness. That's what I felt. Open.
Gracias.
Yeah.
And then I see HP, and I'm not sure what name that is, but HP, whoever you are, if you'd like to add and say your name. Okay.
They typed ecstatic.
Beautiful. What a collection of qualities. And if we can bring this to the world, what a world we can create together. So thank you for doing that as a check-in. And another way you can use this tool, you can imagine all the different times you might use it within a meeting. So it can be used to bring a group back to the present moment after a lunch break, for example, or if tensions are rising in the room and there's a lot of triggering going on and it's time to just take a breath and a pause to bring people back to their heart center and bring coherence to the moment. When things are going in an unhealthy direction, we can use that as a tool then. It's a way just to pause and find a way forward to reset our nervous systems and come back to this present moment, shifting our energetic state to more coherent and in a more wise and skillful place. So
that's great, Jen. That was like the best kickoff. Thank you. I feel so peaceful. It almost makes me want to nap when it facilitates. So I love it. Thank you. Yeah, it's wonderful. Okay.
Thanks so much.
Yay. All right. So our next presenter, I don't see his name in the participants, but I'm wondering if it's one of those names that's not a regular name. So it's Che, and again, I apologize to everyone if I mispronounce your name. So Che Gabor from Hungary. So are you actually here, Che? Because I don't see your name in there, but you could be HP, you could be any of these. And so, and if he doesn't pop up in a second, we'll hope he'll join us later. I hope everything's okay, but we'll just give it a few more seconds. See if he's here. Are you here, Che? And I'll send him an email as well, just as a, where are you? Okay, then I will consider that not here. So Janae, would you please go next?
Sure, I'm just going to unmute myself. Thank you so much again, Jen, for hosting this and for having me. And thank you everyone for joining. So when I saw the invitation for a presentation and the advertisement, what came up for me and what I was attracted to was speaking about coherence, somatic practices, and as Jen described what she does for her practice, using self as an instrument. And so in OD, that's a big part of what we do. And over some of the very interesting, kind of trying times in the last few months for all of us worldwide, I have used a lot of what we do in OD in my own household, particularly with my children who are 13, 10, and 10. Two boys are 13 and 10, and I have a daughter who's 3. So as we're on the call, don't be surprised if you hear a little interruption from any of them. But right now they're occupied. But it can be really a bit of a toll with all of the change that's going on. On the 13th of March, earlier this year, my children were in school and expecting to finish the year as normal. And then by that Tuesday on the 17th, they were distance learning. And everything sort of changed in their world. And just a few short months later, of course, we're watching the news, and there are these tickers that are going off about what's happening with COVID. And also, a few months later, there was a lot of disruption with racial tensions that brought a lot of attention to the USA across the world. And so here I am with my young children, wanting to make sure that they remain they remain in a space that will allow them to grow up and be positive contributors in the world. I don't want them to be afraid of the world that they live in, and I want them to be informed of it at the same time. So, so there are a few strategies with respect to using self as instrument to remind ourselves to remain calm in these times and really evaluate what's happening and take in information without becoming too afraid or paralyzed to move forward. I don't want my children to have the news dictate the narrative of their lives. So, so one of the things that we do together is we do emotional goals, and I do that for myself. So my goal when I'm watching the news is to be informed about what's going on. I'm very intentional about making sure that I evaluate how the information makes me feel, and I understand what I need to do or what precautions I need to take or what actions I should take based on the information. And so that's what I teach my children, to take in information, to evaluate it, and then have a goal. So if your goal is throughout the day to feel joy or to feel happiness or contentment or gratitude in your day, make sure that you're taking in the information, but when it starts to switch what your emotions are like for the day, when you feel like it's making you upset or it's making you angry, you've crossed the zone where it's no longer informing you. It's really starting to own you. So that's how I'm teaching them to watch the news. I feel like, you know, the news is just open consumption, but we have to put some sort of boundaries and guidelines on how we interact with it. And especially as children, I am not able, especially the 13-year-old and the 10-year-old, I'm not really able to completely monitor everything that they do. They're online playing with their friends and different online games, Roblox and Fortnite and things of that nature. So they're talking to people all across the world, and they're having their little chats in those forums as well. And they're watching YouTube and social media. So I have to, by extension, try to help them stay emotionally healthy. The other thing that we do that I wanted to discuss is that we take walks in nature. And so my oldest son recently had asked me about all the stuff that was going on. And I said, I want you to look outside of our window. So he looked outside of the window and I said, what do you see? And he said, nothing. I said, what's going on? He said, nothing, not even a person walking down the street. I said, so do you think that the news will show up here to report that nothing is going on? And he said, you know, no, I don't. Why would they do that? And I said, exactly. I said, I want you to keep in mind that the news is going to show up to report what's going on, generally when there's something going on, but always be reminded about when you're surrounded in peacefulness or calmness, that exists too. And it exists more than probably the problems. But if you have an outlet that's only focused on the problems, their responsibility is to report the problems. Their responsibility is not to tell you, hey, there's nothing going on outside right now. We're back to you, Bob. They're not going to do that. So, so I want to make sure to remind them of that. And so we do walks in nature. I do a lot of walking around my development at home. And usually early in the morning, the birds are chirping. It's really peaceful outside. So I'll do walking. I invite them to do walking with me as well. And then at the end of the walk, just in our yard, there's just a little space of like grass and dirt. And I just invite them. And Bill talked about this. Bill just said, he said his word was grounding. And so that's one of the things that, that we do, just connecting ourselves in a really calm way. Now, I know that there are actually some practices across the world for grounding, and I'm not completely familiar about how all of that works. I just know it makes you feel really calm and peaceful. And so I invite the boys and my daughter to just relax on the grass and just allow your bare feet to touch the ground, and just be reminded of how you create calmness for yourself, even when it seems like there's a lot of chaos around you. So, so that's one of the things those are a couple of the things that we do. Just remain emotionally healthy, be focused on how you're taking in and consuming information, and remind yourself to stay grounded in nature.
Oh, that's wonderful, Janae. I really love the I'm just imagining having a parent helping inform me of that at that age. And I just, that's incredible, the sense of framing, and especially, yeah, because, I live in the States too. So yeah, it's been crazy.
It's
Yeah.
intense.
Yeah, it's been really crazy. So, and I just want to also point out, Michelle had put in the chat that she learned this week that we have 7,000 nerve endings in our feet, which is why bare feet are so important and effective. So
Michelle, thank you for that. I
Michelle.
didn't know that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's wonderful. And just adding one piece from my Qigong background as well, that you can imagine when you're doing the grounding with your feet on the ground, that you put your foot like you're putting it into a slipper, like, so you're entering into the electromagnetic field of the ground in this slide in gentle way, and it can even make you more like screwed in, like it's like a light bulb, just so it's a very cool sensation. But so would anyone like to join in? We have 4 minutes, so would anyone like questions or comments for Janae? Please feel free. And if not, I'll keep asking you questions. Tell her what you're talking
Really,
about.
just thank you. I have some girls. I loved all the concepts that you talked about. You've reminded me of them. Like, I know of them, but how you've brought them to your family. And I think I do some of those things. I often do stuff without really being able to articulate it. And you put a number of things. It's just gorgeous. And just thinking about it, I'm like,
Thank you, Jacqueline.
And Janae, I wanted to
just also, oh, sorry, Peter.
Go ahead.
Can I just say, Janae, you are such a sane parent. And I have the greatest respect just for your equilibrium during this time. It's beautiful to see.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I just want to make sure everybody stays as healthy as possible. Thanks.
And Janae, I wanted to also thank you again for recognizing the grounding. Again, there's some really nice research around the reduction in inflammation that occurs when we are grounded, when we're not wearing rubber shoes, when we're wearing leather shoes and making actually that connection. We are of the earth, and so that it's really nice to find that again. The material world has moved us away from that. And what's missing in the world is finding that component. It's not about the material world is bad, but it's without missing that grounding component. And I also want to say, Janae, how wonderful you illustrate being the change in the world, because you're doing it at home. And if all of us did that kind of work in our own lives, the world would be transformed.
Oh, humbly, thank you. Thank you.
And
thank you for that information.
Yeah, I have one question as well. As you've been doing
Jen.
this with your kids over this time, because it's been a while now, right?
Yes.
Have you seen them growing in their own discernment and ability to really engage more deeply with the media? Are they taking it on and it's really going in?
Yes, they are. Absolutely. Slowly but surely, I see from the beginning when things were, and I think all of us have mellowed into, the change a little bit, but the way that they take in information does feel like it's a lot more objective than it is taking it in and taking it on and allowing the emotion to be controlled. So they will ask questions and then they'll go, to think about it and make a consideration, but they don't have to own the emotion attached to it. So I have seen the difference in how they consume the information. And I think I hear one right now.
Okay, great.
Have we got time for one more comment, Jen, or we?
Oh, yeah, we do. We have time for one more.
So, as we were wrapping up, and also with the introductions everyone was making, I was having the sense of these sort of ripples of coherence, like the self, the family, the extended family, the organizations we're working with, our communities, and how all of those can reinforce each other. And also, like Bill was saying about the change in the world, but the sort of rippling out from, imagine how your children are going to be when they in workplaces or in their communities, and that all sort of can build on each other to create more coherence. So it's wonderful. Thank you.
Okay, that's perfect. And way to go, everyone, on perfect timing. We're doing a great job. So, this is just lovely. And so Irshad is next in Pakistan. So, but again, I'm looking and I'm not sure if I see his name. So I just sent him a link as well, just in case for any reason he was having difficulty getting on. And so I'll wait a second and see if Arshad is with us. And if not, then we'll go straight over to Izelda, which will be lovely if we don't have Arshad yet. So. Arshad, are you here? Okay, then Izelda, please take it away.
Hi, Jane.
Hello.
Hi, Jane. Hi, all the way from Stellenbosch in South Africa. Very happy to be here. Actually, my first exposure to IODA was in Stellenbosch when we had a conference here in, I think it was 2016, and the topic was diversity and inclusion, which is my passion as well. So I had the opportunity to be a speaker there, and it was absolutely wonderful. I met Peter. Hello, Peter. And I'm sure others of you as well. So in the last 10 years, I had a lot to do with work from Arnold Mandel's process work. And I just want to see like a raise of hand, who knows Arnold Mandel, who has had anything to do with him. Okay, Jenny, I see you. Okay. All right, so Mandel's work focuses a lot on reconciliation, as well as, yeah, let me just move this little window. Yeah, and coherent communities within the workplace. So, and just the communities, and it's just wonderful to see the effect that he has, and all these people that work with him, like Jean-Claude and Arlene Ardogan and Steven Skytefuder and everybody from the Institute in Portland, Oregon. So I'd like to speak a little bit about what he does and his philosophies behind it. He's also a physicist and a psychiatrist, so very interesting, into quantum physics, and you know, everything's about quantum nowadays. Okay, and I'd also like to bring in some thoughts about the times we're living in. So I watched a webinar on Monday with Frederick Laloux, and he said that this is the time to reclaim our identity, to stop colluding with the system, which is toxic and destructive, and that it's not just about making money anymore. It really is about living from integrity, a place of integrity. So he says that sexism, racism, complicated tax arrangements, and so on still is very much the norm of the day. And it's as if we have collectively put a lid on the voice of our conscience and of our integrity for years now. He also says it's a growing edge for him when he goes into organizations, just how much truth-telling do you do? You say to a CEO, oh my word, your company has wreaked incredible destruction in the world. Now, how much of that can you really say to an MD or a CEO? He also says that in this time we should feel more deeply, even like contradictory emotions like grief for all of the destruction. We all need to be grieving at the moment, but also we need to have hope. So another person who spoke on the webinar was Otto Schramer. Anybody know Otto? Yeah. He's like a guru. Yes, Jen. Yeah, we heard about him in business school, and he's got, I think he's got models for IODA, and yeah. Anyway, he said that everything he's experienced in his life has prepared him for this moment now. And I think all of us can say, I was born for this moment. Yeah. The individual and the collective, for all of us, something bigger is happening between us, and we can rise together. It's a choice that we make. He also says that there's a deeper longing for a different way of operating and connecting. And this is the time to listen to others. And where they experience their cracks, they are open to new ways. So there's a lot of cracks in society nowadays, such as BLM coming forward, COVID, a real inequality, the questioning of capitalism. So there's a lot of cracks coming through in society, and this is the time where you can actually, where there's an openness to actually come in with new ideas. He talks about heart energy, starting with human intention. Actually, leadership needs to be redesigned, where we start with deeper human intentionality and create distributed leadership so that everybody can step into their full power and really follow their hearts and their callings. Callings is like a theme that came through. Yeah, most of us are not involved. That's why we need distributed leadership. So he also talks about collective shadows, and this is where Mendel comes in. Mendel talks about personal edges and collective edges. So you've got your iceberg, top of the iceberg, primary identity, bottom of the iceberg, below the water, secondary identity. So Jung calls it the conscious and the unconscious. So you've got your primary identity. This is what you're willing to show the world, the stuff that you're comfortable with yourself. And then you've got the secondary identity, which is actually your marginalized self. So you don't want to go there. It's painful. But you know it's there because you've got your activation points and your triggers and your edge behaviors. So then you know, oh my word, there is something under the surface and it wants to emerge to the primary identity. And just like you've got the same situation you've got with the collective. So you've got the primary identity, which might say, oh, we have so much integrity in our businesses, we don't use plastic or whatever. But underneath, in the secondary identity, there's a lot of lack of integrity going on. And in the world right now, all of those activation points and edge behaviors, and it's like the cracks that I was talking about, triggers coming up, and it's just become a whole new system rising up. Now, as an individual, if you talk about coherence, you cannot be a coherent individual if you don't embrace your secondary and your primary identity. And as a collective, you have to also embrace the secondary and the primary to form a coherent community. So those are just Mendel's thoughts on edges. Then Mendel, oh my word, this is the most interesting teaching. He works on 3 levels of reality, which he calls consensus, dreamlike, and essence. So consensus is pretty much like the primary identity. It's everyday, real world facts, figures, peoples, events. But in order for coherence to emerge, we need to go deeper into the dreamlike level. That's his second level. Here we become aware of our body signals, body language, feelings, emotions. Jen knows a lot about this with her somatic experiencing. Here words begin to fail us. It's like almost literally daydreaming, and this is part of the subconscious. But the third level, essence, we cannot even put into words, otherwise we'll be right back at consensus reality. This is the level you reach in deep meditation, and it's literally the essence of what the universe is made of. We call it essence energy. And when communities move from consensus to past consensus through dreaming into essence, we say that the community has become coherent, whole, inclusive, and healthy. Yeah, so that's another part of the teaching of Mendel. The last part that I want to speak to is working through conflict. So Mendel talks about 4 phases, right? And it's the road to coherence, literally. The first phase is where everybody says there's an issue that can create potential conflict, but we choose to ignore it. And we just have a let's do this attitude. You know, there's just like this happy people together. This he calls the relaxed state. The second phase is the one where the issue breaks through and we're forced to face it. Here we have tension, we're fighting it out. There's a lot of energy going into the issue, whatever. But the third phase is the most important. This is where we role switch and stand in the other person's shoes. And then we bring a peaceful state. But this one is one of the most difficult phases because who has the maturity actually switch roles? Huh? Yeah. And in the fourth phase, there's essence. We simply, he says, let the universe take us. We become detached from the issue. And the essence energy creates the true place of coherence. Yeah, so that's Mandel. Amy Elizabeth Fox says that it's a movement of the heart. It's not an intellectual process. And it takes us from inaction to action. She talks about the spiritual dimension, which she says is the gold mine under the conference table. Life has your back when you move in dignity, clarity, and confidence. And what you bring is a gift to your community and your organization. She says the systems are broken because we're in a hurt world, but we need to come with a healing perspective for there to be health in the system. Her question is, what's the pain I have to listen to that was too hard to listen to before? And these were the cracks coming in, no? A lot of questions coming up, a lot of openness of people to move into spaces they haven't moved in before. We are not looking for impact, but once again, we're looking for calling. Thank you.
Whew, that's amazing. Wow, thank you so much. And I'm sure many people have, that just brings up so much. Wow. Would anyone like to comment outside of the chat? As we definitely have lots of comments in the chat, but would anyone like, or ask questions?
So I want to just say that this moves us into that arena where we move beyond the mind. And the great book, the Master and the Emissary, 500 Years of the Entrainment into the Left Brain, that moving us from the idea that the mind is who we are. That's where our masks are. That's where our more superficial levels of exchange are. And ultimately getting us to the ultimate solution, which is the inner journey. And whatever we do, again, Janae illustrated how she's doing that journey within her home, within her family. Use of self says we do the inner journey to do the work externally. So often in our lives, at least for me, I found myself wanting to change things out there only to realize that it was me that needed to make the change. So this, what a wonderful presentation that illustrates really the complexity, but the beauty of the journey inward. And to me, that's what development is about.
Absolutely.
Oh, Zelda. So a few things, someone had posted they would love a reading list from the presentation. So if you had a few books you recommend, maybe you could email me and we can send it out, or you can put it in the chat at some point before we get off.
Okay, some of Mandel's books. Yeah.
And then also,
sure.
that several people that question about what's the pain that I have to listen to. Several people are saying how that struck them very hard, and it struck me very much as well. And I'm just curious, in your own work and applying what you're talking about, what have you been seeing this year in this whole incredibly stirring year? So what pain have you been hearing people?
I've been hearing the cracks. This is what I've been hearing. People opening up because they don't know how to handle what's happening anymore. Besides, for the poverty, all of the job losses, there's a lot of pain there that we had to face. In my own experience, people have been opening up to new thoughts about a lot of things, about the racism issue. And I think the racism issue has quite a lot of impact because it's on the coronavirus. It's not just because Black Lives Matter has existed for a long time. But on top of the other crises, people are really opening up. I mean, I attended, Jock would tell us more about that, but I attended like a webinar of Dell's employees about BLM. And there were 20,000 people on that call. So it really drew a lot of people and more people because they are in their own spaces and there's more time and more effort to engage with what's happening globally now. So yeah, I don't know if that answers your question. Yes, Jacqueline.
Yeah, on following on to the point about the pain piece, it brought me to an experience, and it just kind of fits with this whole thing you're talking about, I think. So when the protests were going on I'm in Chicagoland, and when the protests first started, there was a lot of, infiltration by the worst people, but we ended up, there was one that some former high schoolers in our town put together, and I'm going to cry in a minute, so bear with me. And so my daughters wanted to go. They actually wanted to be part of putting it together, and I stopped them at the time because I was afraid for them, and I had to apologize for doing that because it ended up being a beautiful experience. And the thing that really struck me, and I saw it happening across, was the 8 minutes and 46 seconds of silence in every one of those protests. And as I sat there, it just really grabbed me, and I cried for probably the first 3 or 4, and for the rest of it I sat and said the Our Father through the whole thing just to get through it, just connecting to that. And when we started walking, for me it was less about that being drawn into the emotion of it, and really just observing and seeing. It's what a huge crack, but what a huge moment for people to see. People were seeing, and I just saw so much beauty in that people were finally seeing, and something that I'd seen my whole life, and it was just, oh my gosh, they're finally not coming around, but just they're seeing, and it's been a thing of beauty, really.
Yes, yeah, that's exactly what I was talking about.
We have a few more moments, so we do have time for a few more comments or questions. If anyone else would like to add in?
I wanted to jump in.
Okay, yeah. So whoever just spoke, we'll go with you, and then we'll call that done. So yeah, go. So Sasha, you go. Yeah, Sasha.
Okay. Yes. I was thinking about all of this, especially when you're talking about how to resolve conflict, and the part about having to put yourself in somebody else's shoes and how that's one of the hardest parts. And then kind of going also with what Jacqueline was saying of like people are starting to finally see things, right? And it kind of brings up this idea, and I've been thinking about this a lot, how like there's a lot of research about emotional empathy and how bad we actually really are at that, even within ourselves. Like it's really hard it's actually kind of impossible. Like we just can't do it, to be honest. Understand how you're going to respond when you're in different situations that evoke emotions. Like even like they did a study that really exemplifies this of you put your hand in like ice water that's too cold for you to actually leave your hand in there, and then immediately after that you're like, hey, do you think you can put your hand in ice water for that same water for 5 minutes? And you're like, yeah, no, I can definitely do it, even though you literally just couldn't do it like a couple minutes beforehand. And it's like that sort of stuff on like a much more macro level when we talk about these emotions that all of these things create. And I just keep thinking about how that interacts with this and why it's such a hard, these issues that are coming up, especially around like systemic racism and stuff all over the country and all over the world, right? It's hard to understand, and it's hard to start that conversation because that critical, and there's a lot of conflict there, because that critical step of being able to put yourself in somebody else's shoes is something that the human brain is just really hard and difficult to do unless you've actually had a similar experience. And even then it's still hard, but it's easier. And so it makes me wonder if like COVID and all of the taking away everybody's freedom, everybody doesn't have any freedom anymore at certain points in time, and whether that is finally allowing people to understand how you might actually respond and do that critical step of putting yourself in somebody else's shoes, even if it's not because of racism, it's because of this COVID thing that is taking away everybody's freedoms, to be like, oh, I don't want other people to feel this way in just normal days, quote unquote. So that was just something that was coming up that I wanted to share.
Thank you, Sasha. And I believe it was Janae that spoke up, and there was one other voice. So Janae, you go, and then Ken. Yeah, please. Oh, Janae, you're still muted.
Maybe I don't know what I did, but
Yeah,
I was just saying all of this is so powerful. And Zelda, when you spoke about what pain do I have to listen to, Michelle wrote in the chat, like both of us were deeply impacted by that, because it brought to mind some work that I've heard through Eckhart Tolle, where he talks about the pain body. And so just being able to kind of identify that sometimes what you're seeing from other people might be where they have been hurt in some way, and so they're reacting out of that sort of emotion. And a lot of people are displaying their pain right now. I mean, it's all over social media and the news. So when you bring that up, I feel like that's such a nugget and a gem to take away from your presentation, to really be present in not only saying what, you know, my pain is, our pain is, but to listen to what the pain is of other people. So thank you for that nugget.
Yeah, so beautiful, truly. I know we could go for hours on this one. Yeah, for sure. Ken, please.
Hi, this is a traditional Japanese way of thinking and doing. So for Japanese, in the whole situation, and we already think about who I am. So what I can do, what I should do. So always reflecting on who I am. So the one of the interesting practice for me, sometimes I do actually. So put my hand in my toilet bowl in the naked hand and scrub my toilet bowl with naked hand. But almost all people, just before doing that, no, I don't want to do that. But in Japanese situation, a lot of people say, okay, it's a piece of cake. Why do you hate put your hand in a toilet bowl? It's a simple way. If you don't do such a simple things, you can't measure anything about the social issue and so personal issue. It's just a simple way. So in other words, we say another word, and so we don't want to be pooping or peeping machine. In other words, so we eat a lot of food and drink, and so something without my body. So it's, in other words, we can say it. So our body is just digesting and create some excremates. And so this is a question: are you an organic machine to create something of pooping and peeping out? Everybody said no. Okay, please let me show. What are you doing? What do you creating during the digestive process? So here's my question, or asking all of you: what are you creating daily situation when you eat and drink something and getting something out of your body? So what are you creating?
Thank you, Ken. Thank you. And I'm very happy. Well, first of all, thank you so much, Zelda. That was wonderful. And I'm so grateful. I will be considering this a lot, and I look forward to diving deeper into that work you were referring to. So thank you.
Thank you.
I'm happy to say Irshad has joined us. So Irshad, would you like to begin your presentation? Or at least I see your name. Are you with us, Arshad?
I see your Arshad. I think you're on mute. There you are.
Hello.
Oh, good.
Should I start my presentation?
Yes,
Thank
please.
you.
Yes, that'd be great. Thank you.
Can I share my screen? Can I share my screen?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Please give me 1 minute so that I can start my screen. Hello, everybody. First of all, thank you very much. And thank you so much that you have given me time to share my understanding. My presentation is about my work of last 5 or 6 years. I work with the group who is considered the most intolerant or extremist group, you can say, in Pakistan. Nobody has done before from development sector work with this group, but I work, so I want to share because now become global, and intolerance and dissent, it exists everywhere. So maybe my experience will be helpful for the world and for the IODA people, that we can learn how to live in unity in spite of diversity. Topic is just like I have a how intolerant people are transformed into tolerant. I have given the example that, for example, there are 4 groups. I work basically with 4 groups. Each group has a different philosophy and different thinking, and each group think that they are right and others are wrong. So one group is LA Hadith, second group is Brelvi, and third is just like Deobandi, but it was written by error here. And the 4 is red one, just like LA Tashi. I have also written that the relationship of these groups are based on enmity. Others are infidels, they think killing other as a lawful, and we are others are not okay. This type of a thinking exists before I started work. So you can understand how it was difficult to work and penetrate with them, and to bring all these groups in one table and train and educate them so that they can live in unity in spite of their dissenting and diverse opinions. I was not a religious authority, but my background is just a community development specialist. So I try to do how to bring all these people in one platform in spite of their diverse views. So here are just like their pattern of thinking I observed based on my experience. I observed that their thinking is a linear, biased towards each other. They think black and white, intolerant towards other groups. Mostly they make hate speeches during Friday sermons, have religious arguments that they are right and others are wrong. But I have seen their thinking is a naive, not in-depth knowledge. Somehow you can say broken consciousness, because as soon as you do arguments, they can easily become defensive. They have the distorted information, not logical and accurate, and distorted arguments. Therefore, sometimes it becomes a problem for the trainers, because when listeners don't have argument, they try to become very offensive. And violence also, if you look at the various historical facts, you will find there is too much sectarian violence in Pakistan, but currently it has reduced a lot. Religiosity, and then I have just like another prerequisites. For example, if I want to work with this type of a group in another part of the world, my understanding in that we have to be some prerequisites. For example, we should have a lot of patience to listen their illogical arguments. Mostly we are very haste because we want to snub them, we want to stop them and try to convince them. This might be a not successful method. There is a risk always, but you should be confident to manage if any violent incident happens. We need some friends if anything happens and who can support in this group. Be polite if they mistrust you and raise religiously insulting remarks, because there are chances, because each group has a different context and mostly we use words, but in these groups these words have a different type of a meanings and different. So we have to be very selective during our words, selection of words, so that we can control what message we are going to give them. Careful during selection of words. Words out of context can create a problem. Do not allow open discussion in initial sessions, as participants don't have control on the selection of words. I have experienced that one group who want to raise a question, but the others have a same offensive remarks on his questions. So I learned that at initial stage, until trust is developed, it becomes a problem, especially if groups are very strong during their oppositions. We have to be flexible and confident. Think it's not their fault, but they have been socialized to think on these patterns. I have learned that it is not their fault. They have been trained, socialized, educated, and nurtured to think in this way. And then I have, just like based on my experience, suggestions. If we want to work this group, we have to maintain eye contact with all so that we can convince their hearts and mind. Adopt their method of communication. Mostly we trainers have our own solutions. We have our own pattern of thinking. We hardly learn and understand how people think, how people try to argue, what are their learning methods. We should be on the foot, just like we can, so that learn how they think and how they learn. We don't need to use group work techniques at initial phases until they have acceptance of each other's. Give less chance to them, so that this is very different method, because mostly I learned that we should give maximum chance to the participant to speak. But in this case, if at initial stage we give them a maximum chance to speak, the whole workshop or conference will be spoiled, because they don't trust each other, they don't trust their groups. So we need to control it, and trust is developed, and they reach at the level where they can listen each other. Maintain neutrality among groups. We should be maintain neutrality. Never give reading material until they ask for it. I developed the handouts and tried to distribute with them, but they didn't study because they were skeptical. Maybe I am going to change their religious views. So I thought that it has another fail methods. Have a strong belief to transform them, accept them as a reality. These are 3 techniques, though I use so many different techniques, but all were failed. I don't have too much time to share that why they failed, but there were 3 mostly successful techniques. Lectures, mostly we don't use, in our workshops, and we think it was successful because these religious imams and people are used to listen Friday sermons and deliver Friday sermons. So they have a practice to listen and deliver. Stories were very successful because it was easy to get their attention. Multimedia, it was also, you can say, successful. These were, though there were so many different exercises, but 3 or 4 exercises were very successful. Where is the door? It was also during the, just like Tolerant Pakistan in the documentary it exists. but it was most successful exercise to bring the people who have different views at the one platform and let them understand how different groups think and sit together. From the real life examples, story of saint and whisper, one of the, maybe you have most of the people are used to do this exercise. Key learning I want to share with the group, people are not intolerant by birth, by the way. I have learned that people are trained, socialized, and through structured type of nurturing to make them intolerant. This is not normal phenomena. This has been created. People adjust. The third is people transform when they identify contradiction in words and actions. Intolerance is rooted in ignorance. Basically, it is a phenomenon of ignorance. For example, white and black, Muslims and Hindus, and all these, even in Muslims, Shia and Sunni, this is mostly rooted at some extent in the ignorance. People don't know about each other's perspective and background. Is helpful for oppressors. Mostly, I have realized that intolerance is used to divide the people, to divide the masses, and to prolong their rule. And intolerance everywhere, social media connected globe, but didn't educate to learn diversity. For example, nowadays, people are just like going to connect each other, but they are not working on just like to assimilate or adjust the peoples, and maybe someday it will become a problem. There is a need to educate and train people to live in unity and peace in spite of a diversity. We all people have a different background, different religion, different understandings, but we have not learned yet how to live in spite of our diversity. I have just few pictures so that you can understand what I am talking. This was my first conference with this group. If you look at their faces, you will find tense. Nobody was ready to listen to you. And it was a packed room. And all people have a beer except me. I was the only person who was without beer. And the first session was scary for me too, because there was risk. If you look at the second, it was more just like a relax. And then the third, I have just like made this highlight these 3 or 4 people. They belong to one of the Shia community. Mostly these people don't like to sit with them in one group. But 3 or 4 sessions, they were able to sit among them, eat with them, and think, sit with them. And just like this was just like another meetings, and then this was just like sessions, 4 or 5 sessions, they were like more friendly. What their impact, how I can say that they have transformed. I have also successfully run this Girls Bike to School project. It was never been successful without the support of these people, because mostly it becomes a problem in our country because these imams say that girls should not go to school and they are considered and against the girls' education. But frankly, after my work, they supported me. And not only supported me, they also support. If you look, these are mosque imams. They provided bicycles to their girls too. They supported it.
Irshad, I apologize.
Workshop, they were against.
We're at the
even
very last
their girls'
minute.
education.
So can, in order for the last presenter to go, basically 30 seconds to wrap it up. Great.
Yes, I have ended. This is the last, and this is, I have finished it. This was my last present slides. If you have any questions, thank you so much. I have already done it.
Irshad, thank you so much. It's so inspiring and wonderful to see your work.
Thank you.
And thank you for sharing your conclusions. And I know being in the States right now, for me, I feel very touched. I'm saying a lot of the things you said in the very beginning about how forces of empire are stirring people and how they're using different techniques to divide people. So I I very much appreciate your work in a very challenging situation, and hopefully, especially in the States, we can all draw on what you share.
Thank you.
So thank you, Rashad, really, I appreciate it. So, and my apologies for jumping in. It's the facilitator moment. Okay, so Peter, we have our last presenter. Last but not least, Peter, please take it away.
Hi, everybody, and thanks for all the previous presenters. I've really enjoyed listening and learned a lot. And a couple of very quick points. Zelda, I was at the same event, and I'd recommend everyone goes and listens to that if it's possible. There's a fantastic dialogue for 90 minutes. And also for Janae, I work with passion maps, and we identify the key components of what brings people alive, and being in nature is the most common across all cultures, genders, everything. So anyway, let me let me bring my screen up and I'll share. So, I mentioned in my introduction that I was asked to do a case study day in Melbourne, and I thought I'd talk about that, but then I realized, well, I've actually got a case study written down, so why talk about it when I can just send it to you if you want it? But basically, it was my introduction to IODA, and I used passion techniques to bring groups of people together so that they could work on a real case with a real project later in the day. These were people coming from all over the world, different ages, different backgrounds. And so it was a question of integration and coherence. I've been thinking about coherence because I don't use that word usually. But in fact, I realized after thinking about it that that's what we do. We create coherence. So I'll just run through this thing. I start with the point of view that thoughts and ideas collide. They don't always, but they often do. But energy doesn't collide. It creates coherence or new patterns. So if you're working at the level of thought or intellect, you can have all sorts of issues to resolve. When you're working at the level of energy, you don't. They don't arise. So when I'm working, I just feel really blessed to be working down in this area. I think also it got me thinking about inner and outer coherence. Most of my work is about helping people to create inner coherence and experience their essence, their deep essence in reality, which most people never have done. And then bringing that into a world and working with a group to create outer coherence. And I want to talk briefly about what we're doing as a group to reinvent my business. So, but first of all, a passion is my stock in trade, or our stock in trade as an organization. So I just want to make a few points. I could make hundreds of points here, but it is an embodied experience. And it's life force, or it's energy, or it's chi, or, there's lots of words for that. But so we're working in an embodied way. And the body doesn't lie. Whereas the mind can do all sorts of things and play tricks on itself. And so I don't like working at the level of mind. I want to go underneath that. And what I've been doing for 20 years really is working on ways that you can systematically work with passion. Most people don't think you can, but we found you can. And it generates coherence in certain situations, and it arises from our essence. So that's where I think we are with passion. And I think I've been around the block probably more times than most of you guys have. And I've worked in all sorts of different industries. And I just find that, working at the level of, or helping people to get to their essence and working from that place is a glorious place to work from, and avoids huge numbers of issues that OD practitioners normally deal with. So I wanted to just, when I thought about how I could contribute to IODA, and I have great respect for the organisation, and I'm coming back from retirement actually, and the first thing I did really was to go to South Africa to the conference there, and I was retired for quite a few years, and most of the network of facilitators and coaches that we'd built up had sort of gradually left, and then coming back again, 10 years later, or nearly 10 years later, it was amazing how much the world had changed. And so then I started training a few people, and then we thought this doesn't work. This sort of business structure doesn't work. And I'm very influenced by the work of Frederick Laloux, and I also have had in my career a time working in the environmental area, and I just came to the conclusion we'll never solve that unless we have global consciousness around the issue. Otherwise just playing at the edges. So my individual focus is actually about raising consciousness. So the G8 project is 8 of us who came together to reinvent my business, or the Passion Maps business, which currently is mine, but wanting to move to a totally different model and have more people involved in it, and certainly hand it over to the energy of younger people. And the 8 of us came together to start this process. So that's me in the corner. And then there's Benet from the Sunshine Coast. She's an American living in Queensland, and Natasha, who's in New Zealand, and Uwe, who flits between Germany and Corfu. And then that's next guy is Shane. Oh, anyway, Shane.
Peter, what I'm seeing is just your screen saying IODA Case Study Day. I'm not seeing. Yeah.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, let's see what I can do.
Yeah, same here.
There's something wrong with.
You need to try and share the other screen. You should have an option for 2 screen share. Share the other one if you've got presentation mode with 2 screens.
Oh, look, I'll just get out of presentation mode. Be quicker.
And yes, just as a time check, 2 minutes. So just that for the people that want to leave right at 10:30.
Yeah. Let me just get this. Sorry.
No problem.
So you can't see that at all.
We were seeing it like where you would build the slides, not the presentation view. And so it was just on the first slide.
Can you see this?
Right now, I just see you looking at.
You need to share again, maybe. I think, did you not stop sharing, maybe?
Yeah,
Yeah, this went wrong the other day too. It's I'll just share again. No, I can't do it. I'll talk about it. Oh, that's a shame, because I've got, I went to a lot of trouble with this presentation. But
would you
yeah,
mind
let me
sharing
just talk about it.
Sure, yeah, Jane could circulate it, Peter, if...
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I will. But basically, the model we use takes people down deeply into essence, individually and collectively. And there's a number of stages. So we go down through the mind, through the heart, through imagination, through the body into essence. And we've been developing this for many years. And then we do that individually and we do it collectively. And the interesting thing about essence is that when people are there, it has extraordinary qualities. and we can measure them in groups. People feel grounded, they feel in integrity, integrated, they feel light, they feel clear, they feel confident. I mean, the benefits of being in essence are just so extraordinary. And I want to work from that place with people, and we're currently reinventing our business from that place. We've just come down to we're just in essence now, and we're going back out into the world. And from here, we create our values and our operating principles, our collective vision, and basically where coherence comes in is every step we use a process of individual contribution, clustering and harmonizing, then agreeing what the collective is, and then moving to the next step. So there's probably 20 steps in the process, and every one we go through a coherence process. So every one we're bringing forward soul and heart and soul into the next step. And I don't believe that we'll ever get into a process of getting the world healed in a way without different organizations. Our structures in companies are obsolete, they don't work. They're shown to be inadequate in these current days. And I'm interested in, I was thinking actually, I'd love to see IODA become IOTA, you know, International Organizational Transformation Association, because I don't think we need OD anymore. We need transformation. It's too slow, OD. And how do we actually transform? So what our little contribution is trying to create transformational processes from essence. So humanity comes into it, and also at essence, people feel part of the globe, of the whole. They feel part of the environment. They are part of it. But most people have never experienced it because they've been enculturated into thinking and solving everything by thinking. You might not, Jen, but it's most people are that way. So I just, if you'd like any information on this, and what I was thinking that what I'd do is to actually let people in on our process. So, you know, to follow us, there's probably another month or so. We meet every 2 weeks, and I'm going to do a little video of each. We might all do little videos of what we're doing, because I think what we're doing is very important. And I think we've got unique IP, and we can make a big difference to the world by bringing humanity and soul and essence into everything that we do. So it starts the individual, goes to the collective. Anyway, if you want to, the reason I put my background on was basically so that you could see my email address. And if you want to get either the IODA case study, I can send it to you. Michelle, you'd probably remember it was a fun day. I still get things from people saying that was an interesting day. Had the whole group standing around on pieces of paper to get them embodied. It was fabulous. Anyway, that I've got the case study for that. And if you want to sort of observe what we're doing with our reinvention process, then just let me know, and I'll send you something once a month and show you. It's a shame I can't sort of show my slides, because we're using Miro, we're using Google Docs, and we're using a few systems. But one of the big things that I've discovered through this shutdown period is we have a most amazing asset of a shared screen. We can collaborate with people everywhere, and it's easy. And I've just run my first online training program with people from 7 countries, and it was just really easy. So that's enough for me.
Peter, thank you so much for being up in the middle of the night and sharing truly your passion with your passion maps and everything you're doing. And I look forward to visiting your website. And yeah, anything you want to distribute, yeah, get it to us, and we'll help put out a link, or we'll find a way.
Look, it's easier if people just contact me and ask what they want.
Okay, great.
I don't want to drown anyone in information.
Okay.
Yeah, it's 2:33 according to my computer.
Really? Wow, that's dedication.
It's amazing that you're still up.
That's truly a passion writ large. So thank you for coming out of
Sleep in tomorrow,
retirement
mate.
to share that.
But as soon as I talk about it, I just get completely consumed by energy.
Energized, right?
Yeah. Well,
I
thank
was
you.
imagining, so
Yeah,
I know we're late on time, but Peter, I was imagining if all organizations, all corporates, for example, did their planning from essence, like how different the world would be. You know, like
Oh my
this whole
goodness.
notion of performance and KPIs and like the weight of inertia of how these organizations function. And when you were talking, I was just imagining if people could shed all of that and like go back to doing it from wholeness, how incredibly different the world would be. Wow.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I mean, that's my dream, that we can make a contribution to that. And we were doing face-to-face programs, 10, 15 years ago when I was working. But I think the online stuff is even more powerful. I mean, I just think there's a precision that we can get online that we can't get face-to-face sometimes, and certainly in the co-creation space. So, yeah, I mean, I worked in the environment at one stage, and everyone's, like, people are well-meaning, have all these initiatives, but ultimately it's about consciousness. Ultimately, it's about where people come from, and if I've worked with Indigenous people doing a passion map, they're so connected. They're different. They're just not coming from their heads. They can create sustainability. We can't. Anyway, I can rant on this all day, but I want to be part of that movement that actually changes things. And fortunately, we've got something that we think we can contribute.
Thank you so much, Peter. Thank you, Janae. Thank you, Jen. Thank you, Rashad. Thank you, Zelda. It's so wonderful to have all of you here, and all the people who've been contributing in the comments, and the people that are just simply here bringing their beautiful beingness. So thank you. We're going to keep doing this, and we've got some other exciting things coming in, like 3-part series, some more fun stuff. So stay tuned, and I hope everyone has a wonderful, again, day, evening, middle of the night, afternoon. And yeah, thank you so much for being a part of IODA. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank
It's
you.
wonderful.
Bye.
Okay.
Take care. Have a great weekend.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.